Welcome to Conversations in Family Business. My name is Peter Roper. I'm known as the Family Businessman and founder of the Family Business Practice. And this is all about every week on a Thursday, taking 15 minutes out from your family business and reflecting, taking time out to reflect, think about a certain issue or challenge, and perhaps how you can make life a little easier, both for yourself, but for everybody else in the family business. I've been working with family businesses for 30 odd years, something like that, perhaps even longer. And I've learned lots of things not to do during that time. So I'm not sitting here as a guru. I'm sharing with you stuff that I've learned, if you like, and hopefully it will be useful to you. So today is all about looking at a certain subject. I'm surrounded by lots of different paperwork to try and remind me of all the things I'm going to tell you. So forgive me if I look around occasionally as a prompt. But I want to talk to you about something that comes up all the time, and that is next generation pressure. Next generation pressure. The next generation often carries pressure that just isn't spoken about. It's just not. And it starts long before you get into the whole field of succession and taking things over. The reality for many people that are in this position, and it might be you might be taking over or perceived to be taking over the family business. Family businesses start the same way, 99 times out of 100, to put food on the table, to fill the fridge. That's a famous phrase of mine. And they expand, they develop over a period of some years, and then all of a sudden another generation comes in who probably were working in the family business from the age of 4 in some form or another. But sooner or later, it starts to become natural that that person that was a little person grows to be a bigger person and then up to a grown-up. And you start saying, well, actually, they're going to be the one taking over the business. Perhaps not. And that's part of the challenge, isn't it? And I know that to be true for our own family business. You know, we have 3 children. They've all been involved in our family businesses over the years, some more than others, but they all have a place of help and support. And the questions of, well, what now? What happens when mum and dad go, they stop, they finish, they've had enough. They said, I'm off, whatever it is. For the next generation, there's a whole bunch of questions to think about. So, as I've always said, this is not a process of mine. This is a process that's very well known. It's age old, which is to think about this subject, reflect on it, which is what I'm going to help you do right now, and then decide what you need to do about it, and then take some action. Now, here's the thing. Taking action is important. What's also important to recognize is that if you decide not to do anything, that's also taking action. But doing nothing is actually taking action when you work it out. So bearing in mind that for the next generation, there are expectations. The reality is there are expectations. There are expectations of the parents, the expectations of how they have run their lives, how they have run the business, how they have dealt with employees if there are employees in the business. Those expectations are big, they're large, they loom every single day. So what about the expectations of the generation that is coming through? What are their expectations? How do they align? How do them, are they like this or are they like this or like this? What are the expectations? And that's important. That's really important. That everybody understands what that is and understand that if you are the founders of the business or the current family generation that are running the business, that the people that are coming through, your youngsters, if you want to call them that, whatever phrase you'd like to use, they're under pressure. And that's the reality. They're under pressure. They're under pressure to live up to the expectations that you have put into them from the day they were born into the family business. And there's pressure there. It's probably not spoken about. 9 times out of 10, it's not spoken about. All right? But there is pressure for them there. And you need to recognize that. And likewise, if you are the generation coming through, you need to understand that, yeah, you're under pressure, whether you like it or not, if you're involved in the family business. And what comes with that is capability doubts, if you like. Capability doubts of that generation coming through. Am I going to be able to do what my parents did, or my uncle and auntie did, if that's what you're working with? Am I being able to live up to what they do? Because of course, you've got somebody in their 20s, perhaps, for instance, looking at somebody in their 60s with 40 years of business experience. It's asking a lot. It's asking a great deal. And of course, the capability is doubted in their mind. The capability is also doubted in those that are around them, not just their parents necessarily, who may or may not have rose-tinted glasses there. But if you employ people, they will doubt whether those youngsters will be able to move the business on in the way that you want them to. The comparison to the founder is a real challenge, which is, I've sat with businesses and I've heard people say, "Oh, he's not like his dad, is he? His dad can do this, that, and the other. He can't do that." Well, maybe he can't. Maybe he can't. Maybe that's inappropriate, actually. Maybe he needs to be his own man or her own woman. Comparing apples with apples is a very important thing. So you compare a 60, 70-year-old person with a 20, 30, 40-year-old person is unfair. Most life is unfair, isn't it? So comparison to founders, either way, creates next generation pressure. That's the point. There is generational pressure. And if you don't have a clear succession time frame, and I don't know, type into ChatGPT, Google, whatever, it will say that the number one thing that everybody in family business talks about is succession planning. That's not true. It isn't true. People talk about succession planning when it's coming to the time of it. Other than that, everyone's trying to put food on the table. But it's really important at certain times. So if people aren't clear, I don't know, maybe there are 3 or 4 siblings working the business. Is it one of them that's going to take the business to the next level? If it's not clear, it can be a challenge. And another time I'll talk about succession more. But for now, let's just talk about the pressure on the generation coming through and the pressure on the people currently running the business to do the right thing for them as well. Pressure doesn't always show as conflict, by the way. Pressure doesn't always show as conflict. It could be silence from the younger generation, confidence from the younger generation. That pressure can absolutely get to somebody. When people say, I don't know, when people go for, interviews and, the standard question is, how are you with pressure? And they lie and say, oh, I'm great with pressure. I love pressure. It's not true. It's not true. Don't get me wrong. A little bit is a good thing, but nobody really wants to be under immense pressure all the time. It's not good for you. It's not good for your health. It's not good for everybody around them. But in this situation, pressure, yeah, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. And it affects confidence. Confidence both ways. Confidence in your kids. There's nothing worse than not having confidence in your kids. Think about it. They're coming through to potentially take the business over and you're not confident they can do it. That's bad news for you. It's bad news for them. It's bad news for the business. And it's bad news for you as a family. Those of you that have seen or heard me before, I will say family first, business second. Because after all, the business is to support the family. So surely it's got to be family first. If it's business first, you've got a real issue. A real issue. But it affects things. It affects confidence. And obviously the youngsters coming through, your job if you're the older, the older generation is to help them through. That's your job. It happened the day they were born. So that's your job, and it doesn't change within a business. People say, oh no, business is different. It isn't. It isn't at all, because the bond is there. You can't stop being a mum or a dad. They can't stop being, a son or a daughter or a brother or sister. They can't switch that off. It's life. It's fact. So succession starts long before transition. Succession starts long before transition. So when you get into that place where you're going, oh, right, okay, I'm paraphrasing, but all right, we decided, right, okay, you're taking over in 6 months' time, son from dad, all right? That's a bit late, isn't it? You know, if you've both been in the business a few years, the succession process should have started long before that. Long before that. Because after all, they need training, they need development. You know, everybody needs training and development. You need training in how to help them transition. You know, maybe you need some help from somebody to help do that. Now, all right, that's a bit of an advert, I suppose, but you see what I'm getting at. All right, it cuts both ways. You probably have never helped a son or daughter transition through a business before, in most cases. All right, so you need help as well as they need help from you, or they may need help from others to help make sure that the relationship and the structure and the form continues. Because emotional preparation matters as much as the technical preparation. Say it again. Emotional preparation is needed as much, at least, as technical preparation, because it's emotion that drives the business. And if anybody thinks otherwise, they're kidding themselves. Running a business is emotional. Whether you like it or not, it's emotional, right? And it's on both sides. So, how to help next generation pressure, perhaps in your business. What might the next generation not be saying right now? What might they not be saying right now? Just think on that, reflect on it for a minute. Have you actually sat and asked them? Have you talked about it? Have you found some sort of structure or way? What aren't they saying? What are their fears? What are their thoughts? All right? Have you created a space for honest discussion? Have you created a space for honest discussion? It's too easy for all of us, my hands up, to say, yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Yeah, manana. We'll talk about it tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Both sides, both ways. All right? Because neither of you want to really talk about a subject that actually you're a bit nervous about talking about. And cover that in another recording. But have you got a space? Have you created a space that says, you know what? Every week for half an hour, this is the start of the transition. By the way, probably, we've agreed it's in 5 years' time, but it starts now because you're learning to how to move forward into this, and I'm learning how to pass it across to you, because you're both in a learning mode, not just one-sided. And are you doing it in an emotional and not just a structured way? All right? Suits will tell you, I have the expression suits, professionals will tell you need structure to pass a business over formally, and they're absolutely right at some point. But you've got to do the emotional stuff first. If you don't do that emotional stuff, the rest of it will fail anyway. So you've got to get a process in place of preparing emotionally, both sides, them for transitioning through and having the experience to be able to do that, and you for helping them to do so and for letting go, which is another recording for another day. Next generation pressure, it's one of the biggest ones actually in my experience, and it's one of the ones that are hardly ever spoken about because it's just stumm. Just let it go. And what happens is it's all a bit too late. You're not trained up to hand the business over. They're not trained up emotionally to take it from you. And all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose, let alone the structure of what physically is going to happen, the numbers, the money, shareholding, all that sort of stuff. All right? Emotionally, both sides need to be trained and developed. And if that means just sitting down, thinking, reflecting, deciding and taking action, then you've done something. Because the alternative is that silence compounds. All right? Silence compounds. And all of a sudden, the challenge will be so much bigger for you. So that's next generation pressure. I hope you found it useful. Do please reflect on it and do something with it. Each week on Thursdays, Conversations in Family Business at 12 o'clock each week, where I share some ideas. I hope to see you again soon. They're on our websites, they're posted on LinkedIn and YouTube, etc. You can watch them as often as you want. They're free on me. But obviously, if any of these subjects you want to talk some more with, you know where I am. Get in touch with me. But for now, my name is Peter Roper. I'm known as the Family Businessman, founder of the Family Business Practice. It's been my pleasure to share some thoughts and ideas with you. Thanks very much indeed for listening. Thanks.